Hello gainers, I'm Ralphie and welcome to my channel called Fitter Philosophy, in which I present little monologues relating to practical, experienced, basic, simple, rational, reasonable, logical, Stoic philosophy. And my subject for this particular presentation is adapting. Adaptation, changing to circumstances, but we'll just stick with adapting because it's something we are not taught in school, because school is there to program us and give us the basic skills of reading and writing and numerics, well, adding, subtracting, some basic mathematics, so as that we can be functional economically to the society in which we find ourselves, to be productive and generate wealth. And that's just the simple facts of it. So at school you don't really learn about nutritional care, about the cultivation of good health and wellness. We don't learn about to understanding human behaviour and the basic psychology of, hanging about with good positive people and avoiding bad negative people. We don't get taught or any sort of guidance on understanding the real politics beyond the veneer of the democratic system. And we don't get taught anything about the realities of the monetary system, because if we were, we'd all be a lot smarter than we are. But once we've left school, so long as we're open-minded, we can continue to learn from life. And as we do learn from life, gainers, we empower ourselves, not just a little bit, but considerably. And one of the things that we need to be aware of is adapting and adaptation within our lives. Because some people, and you probably know them, a few examples of these sorts of people, they're very unwilling to change the habits that they've generated at a relatively young age to make their life manageable, comfortable, and I have to say relatively boring. These are people you find will be risk averse and don't have much of a conversation within them. And you don't have to be a rocket person, you don't have to be a mountaineer, you don't have to be a skydiver or involved in any sort of extreme sports to be addressing the boringness of your life. Simply changing the mindset slightly is all you need. And this is really about adapting. It's about challenging the stagnation within our lives that is entirely an option. But we're surrounded by people who do. They institutionalize themselves in their own lives and don't adapt. And one of the engineers of adapting, one of the drivers, is motivation. We can motivate ourselves, but we can also be motivated by others around us, which is why it's so important to keep good company, positive company, encouraging, motivational, supportive company. The quality of the people around us contributes an awful lot to the quality of our life. And adaptation is one of the essential mechanisms. Sometimes we adapt in life because we want to. We could take up a new hobby, we could visit a new destination, and you don't have to go to another country, because you can find the most exotic of locations in your own doorstep wherever you happen to be. And a good example of that is, particularly if you live in the city, is actually getting public transport out somewhere in the countryside and going for a good long walk. Or just getting in your car and going to a national park and just experiencing some wilderness for a little bit. I mean, you don't have to commit yourself to being weeks away from the comforts of civilization. Just an overnight camping trip, that'll do. That will take you out, it'll push you to the edge of your comfort zone and maybe a little bit beyond, and it gives you practice adapting to circumstances. Now, we can control this, but the other part of adapting is adapting to circumstances we can't control. And you find this in war zones, where people quickly succumb because they cannot adapt. They can't adapt to sourcing food, sourcing safety, if it's possible, or sourcing the right sort of people to help protect them in this sudden change of environment. And because either they can't adapt, won't adapt, or in circumstances where they don't have an option, people can find themselves in a very vulnerable situation. But we can all empower ourselves, whatever the circumstances, by being a bit more aware of adapting, of reprioritising what matters, of accurately appraising the situation we're in, of being realistic with ourselves and realistic about the society around us wherever we are. And this adaptation is so important, and it's something I've experienced myself personally, where I had a sudden change in family circumstances as a result of one single phone call, and it's changed my life. And I had to go with the experience, not knowing how it was going to work out. It had to be a leap of faith. I had to adapt. So I went with it, and I have adapted. And as a result of that adaptation, I am far better off than I was. Now, there's no way of knowing how it would have worked out, but the more that we practice the mechanisms of control within our lives, gainers, the more we can control our lives under the circumstances that we connect with and that influence us. I'm Ralphie. Hope you've enjoyed this little monologue. If you have, leave a comment, click like, subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.